ladies and gentlemen. Ron DeSantis is trying to get more of our history out of the schools down there. So he announces a plan to block diversity programs from state colleges. So I guess he's going to keep going until it's all wiped out of Florida, you know? So, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis announced plans this week to block state colleges from having diversity, equity, and inclusion and critical race theory in his latest attack on Black history in public education. So, the second term governor, who is widely expected to launch a 2024 White House bid this late spring or early summer, previously blocked a new advanced placement course on African American studies from being taught in high school, saying it violates state law, and championed Don't Say Gay law prohibiting lessons in sexual orientation or gender identity in state primary schools. DeSantis has pursued an aggressive series of policies to block teaching or discussing about America's racist past and present, making a name for himself in a national Republican Party still defined by the legacy of Donald Trump, who famously mobilized white voters' racism and resentment of attempts to change the nation's racial hierarchy into a winning bid for the White House. Last year, DeSantis signed legislation dubbed Stop Woke Act that restricts certain race based conversations and analysis in schools and businesses. The law bars instruction that says members of one race are inherently racist or should feel guilt for past actions committed by others of the same race, among other things. Mm. Well, ladies and gentlemen, if you homeschool your kids, you can talk about anything you want, all you want. And you won't have to look at people like Ron DeSantis every day. That might actually be an added bonus. So, in his new effort to restrict diversity efforts in public colleges, DeSantis pledged at a news conference that critical race theory and diversity, equity, and inclusion programs known as DEI would get no funding and that will wither on the vine. DeSantis is not alone. So far, at least 25 states have considered legislation or other steps to limit how race and racism can be taught, according to an analysis from Education Week. 8 states, all Republican led, have banned or limited the teaching of critical race theory or similar concepts through laws or administrative actions. The bans largely address what can be taught inside the classroom. Trump, who was also running for president again in 2024, unveiled his own education plan last week that promises to cut federal funding for any school or program that includes critical race theory, gender, ideology, or other inappropriate racial, sexual, and political content onto our children. So, our public schools have been taken over by radical left maniacs. Well, the way I see it, if you take your children out of these schools where they're not learning nothing anyway, it's not like you're getting a good education. American education is not even good education. It's very substandard. So if you take your children out of school, you can make them lose funding that way. They lose funds. If and I know this will never happen because no matter what happens, there are black parents that are gonna keep shoving their kids in these schools. I already know that. But hypothetically, if those parents would remove their children from the schools all throughout Florida, they would lose a massive amount of funding. They would lose you can cause them to lose money. And I bet you if that happens, they would sing a whole different tune. You could turn this whole thing around that they're on right now. But you would have to do it, as a collective, you would have to do it, but I know already there's some parents that are hell bent. They don't care if they go straight Klan. They're going to still get their black children up and push them right on out the door. I already know that. So the College Board purged names of many Black writers and scholars associated with critical race theory. The New York Times reported contrasting final curriculum with an early draft. It ushered out some politically fraught topics like Black Lives Matter. So that had to come out of the curriculum. So these folks don't want reality taught. They want some fake illusion that they got in their head to be taught. Right there, that should be no place for your children. So DeSantis, whom himself briefly taught history at a private high school, and there's some questionable things that he did when he was teaching that folks aren't even talking about, but let me go on. All right, so he taught at a private high school in Georgia before attending law school and was remembered by the students for his controversial views on the Civil War, the New York Times reported, which prompted a video about him lecturing students the Civil War was not about slavery. That's a white supremacist talking point. So anyway, one of his former students said DeSantis was mean and hostile to black students, and it was reported in the New York Times. So, y'all, the bottom line is Ron DeSantis technically can't stop you from teaching your children whatever you want. You should be teaching them things at home anyway. You should be talking about our history to them in the privacy of your home. They can't stop you from doing that. They can't stop you from showing your children things that occurred in history through books. They can't stop you from purchasing books on our history. So, even if he blocks it from the school, that don't mean he blocked it from your home. So, you do what you want with your children. The public school don't own your kids. So, it's really up at this point if you're in Florida or a Republican state, it's up to you to get around those things and make sure that knowledge is passed on to your children. All they can do, everything they're doing, believe it or not, is still very limited. All right. It's not like the information is going to just disappear from thin air. It doesn't matter if they burn books. There's so much stuff online. You can virtually get almost every book they decide to burn. You can find it online. It's really counterproductive in many of the things that they're doing. So really, at this point, the ball is in the court of the parents down in Florida. So the real question is, what are you gonna do? You are paying for college. So are you gonna pay for college where Ron DeSantis pulled all of Black history where your son or daughter that's going to college in Florida can't even learn about themselves and you're paying and footing the bill for that? It's a lot to think about. But y'all, please tell me what you think about this video. Please leave your comment and subscribe. Don't forget to hit on the notification bell, and I'll see you on the next video. Peace, family.